All right, welcome everybody to our video number 2 on marketing. What is marketing? What's the cost? All these different variables around staffing firms and marketing and lead gen, top of funnel. I'm Brian Brown and I'm here with
Rebecca Batisto.
And we've come up with the fun names of the Bull and the Brit. I think it's pretty easy on hers. I'm just the Bull in the China shop and I kind of break things as we go, but I will get you to the end. And Rebecca's got a cup of tea ready to go for our conversation today.
I actually have my little tea bag stand right there.
See? There we go. There we go. So we left off last week talking about overall the disparity and controversy from one company to another of what the heck is marketing within a staffing company. And it kind of led to where we are today talking about, well, how do we budget for marketing and what does it encompass within a staffing organization? And then this was a fun topic for Rebecca and I to go through, because I don't think a lot of people realize how much money goes into this. Why are we here talking about it? So I've spent 20 plus years in the staffing industry as an owner and as an executive. I've been through 4 different acquisitions totaling over $100 million as an equity partner or as a sole owner. Rebecca and I have had an amazing rapport over the years through one of those acquisitions, actually. And then since then, partnering together, working with companies just like yours that are struggling with their brand, their lead gen, top of funnel, and all the things that come into it. So once again, we're together and trying to help you guys out and really formulate a plan on how to utilize the resources that are available to you to drive more business, more candidates, and ultimately more success.
Right. Harness all of those things that you want to do and make them actually happen.
Perfect. So what are we spending? What is that? Yeah, let's look at this, because I think this is shocking. I did a roundtable with a group of presidents of staffing companies a couple of months ago, and I think their jaw dropped when I threw out some of these numbers, and appropriately, I think, because I don't think we really look at it as an owner of a business when we look at how all these things flow in as cost, and really what all is marketing, which we'll get into in a minute of who all is involved and what tools, etc. But when you think about 80% of the staffing companies that are in the United States today, and I'm not including worldwide, that are in kind of that upswing, the emerging growth phase, they're not at 100 million. And there's a very small group that are in that 10 to 100 million. Most people are, in that kind of, 8 to 12 to 15 million, which, we're calling that kind of small agency side. Right. So when you think about that, our goal is to utilize the tools and the function of marketing to get the funnel filled. And this isn't my number. This is well versed out there. People actually, experts in marketing, coming up with these numbers that the growth phase of a company that's doing B2B, which you guys are, right, should be spending 5% of your revenue, if you're 10 million or under, on marketing. And marketing, lead gen, outreach, brand, all of it together, right?
Yeah, I think it's important to just not to step on your toes, just to jump in.
Please step on them. Go ahead.
On the small agencies, one of the things that you really have to do is you have to have that brand awareness. You are coming in from nowhere. Nobody knows who you are. And you are competing with not only all the other small agencies, but all of the growth firms and mature staffing firms. And I cannot tell you the amount of times we meet with small agencies. Brian and I both go through this all the time. And I will ask them, who are your competitors? And they will tell me Robert Half. And I'm like, Robert Half is not your competitor. Do not try to compete with Robert Half. Seth Godin has a great talk about competing with the people that you should be competing with. And if you're not in the right place, you cannot win the game. So yeah, small agencies, you have to think about the fact that you are no one and you are thinking that you are competing with Robert Half. So that brand awareness is vital, and that is a large part of why you're spending 5% and the mature staffing firms are spending a much smaller amount, or a smaller percentage, I should say, not a smaller amount.
No, agreed. And I think keeping things simple too, guys. I mean, remember, staffing business as a whole is we're people selling the services of people to people, right? And they're not picking up the phone anymore. So anything that we can do from a campaign perspective, I believe it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Rebecca, but 12 to 15 touches now, I think, is the new number before someone actually recognizes that your staffing company, who you are, the name, brand, and what your services you provide, right? I'm a generalist, I'm an IT, I'm a healthcare staff, whatever it might be. But the amount of touches it takes now to get to somebody to actually connect and click is so important, because it used to be 7 to 10. Now it's 12 to 15. And I think as more things evolve and people are less likely, I think it's coming back a little bit, but to go to networking events or to do, happy hours or whatever it might be, using your marketing budget appropriately to get that outreach and your brand out there to somebody that can consume it, your services, is paramount.
When you start out, you need to have a logo that looks different from other people, but also speaks to the culture of your company. That in itself, so many people will go and they'll buy their Fiverr logo, spend $5-10 on a logo, and then you're on LinkedIn and no one remembers who you are. So simple things, they're worth spending the money on. This is proven tactics. You need to look good, you need to sound good, and you have to have consistent messaging. So these are the same things that we've been saying all along, and it's very important that you spend the money, do the right thing, and you'll find, and we're going to talk about this in future videos, you will find the return on that investment.
Plus getting creative. I mean, your marketing dollars go a long way doing new things as well, right? I mean, Robert Half, Insight Global, Manpower, Allegiant, right? I mean, they've got millions of dollars to buy AdWords. They got millions of dollars to flood markets that are on the interwebs, et cetera, right? So what are you doing and utilizing your marketing dollars to be creative to reach your customer base? Which, Rebecca, you found a very interesting slide which talks about kind of risk, like what dollars are you putting in kind of that new creative risk perspective, which I think is actually the next slide. But how are you getting experimental to use these dollars appropriately, because no one knows you compared to that. So you have to utilize these resources correctly. You can talk about this. Sorry, I totally stole this from you.
Stole my thunder. No, it's fine. So basically, this is the breakdown of not specifically what type of marketing you're going to be doing, but the kind of campaigns that you're going to be doing. So for your proven strategies, you want to be spending 70% of your budget on proven strategies. These are things that have worked in the past. If you're brand new and you've never done anything before, you can definitely look at the competitors, the reasonable competitors, and see what's working for them, piggyback off of them, and use 70% of your budget on that. But you do want to use 20% of your budget on new growth ideas. And that could be, they've come out with this new platform. We want to see who's on it. So we're going to spend money and put a campaign towards that. Or it could be, we're considering, we've always gone after, as a healthcare staffing company, we've always gone after hospitals, and now we're going to go after maybe small clinics or allied health or something like that. Then that would be 20% of your budget to that. So you're not wasting your money. You have to have 12 weeks or more for you to really see whether this is working. And then 10% are for those completely unusual things. We've done some very personalized marketing, going after specific leads and had like books where we've made stories in the past for a specific lead and explains like in the story how the staffing is going to work and what the guy is going to do. And that was a really fun campaign, and it closed that lead. So
That's
that was
awesome.
10% of,
Yeah,
again, you're doing fun things, you're doing different, you're standing out from the crowd. And if you don't have that extra 10% spent on that, you're never going to get out of the busyness, out of the crowd, and be seen.
Yeah, and I think that this is a good example now going to the other slide, but like networking, right? I mean, one of my clients completely changed their whole philosophy. Like we're throwing, cold calls out the window. We're going to change the perspective, and we're going to, bring in an IT expert around cybersecurity or AI, and we're going to start hosting quarterly luncheons at Fleming's. And they would invite people to this, and it turned into a complete windfall for them.
Yeah.
So they took their marketing dollars and shifted it to networking and events and saying, hey, we're going to get people to come here in this perspective. But, this is a perfect example of, 5%, 3%, 1.5%. Where are you spending it on? And this is kind of the overarching viewpoint of this. And Rebecca, talk to me a little bit, because obviously from an outsourced perspective, that's still manpower. Versus in-house versus ad costs. Dive into this a little bit for us.
And I think that gets lost a little bit. When people say in-house, it's kind of like when you run your own business, and people who don't run their own business will tell you that's a write-off. And you're like, what do you think that means?
My wife tells me that every time we go to dinner. She's like, aren't you paying us on the company? It's a write-off. I'm like,
it's a write-off. Like, money's
like, no.
So anyway, yeah, manpower, whether it's in-house or not, if you're outsourcing it, you still are paying for manpower just because it's on their salary rather than you're writing a check, or it's the same damn thing.
Yes.
One's going to cost you 30% more. Anyway, manpower means the people. It's people. It's the people doing the work. And every element that's on here and every element of your marketing is going to include manpower. You can put AI to work all day if you want, but somebody's going to give AI.
Somebody has to click a button still.
And then when AI sends you the little message saying, hey, we're not working because such and such stopped working, or your server isn't talking to us, somebody has to go back in there and turn it back on. It's always going to have manpower. So manpower is probably going to be your highest cost, especially when you're in the lower end of your business. Like if you're a small business or a medium-sized business, I would think manpower is going to be...
Manpower is always your highest cost in everything in your business, yeah.
Right, but when you get to a certain level, tools are going to be more expensive, but you can't get away from those either. And that includes any of your AI tools, any of your automation tools, MailChimp, hosting, domains, SEO, all of the different things that you use to get the marketing out, like social media scheduling tools, everything is going to be under your...
Get lost in this real quick, because tools is an important piece of this, right? So you got the people, right? But tools, from a staffing owner and CMO perspective, we got to think, all right? You also have CRM, right?
Right.
How much are you charging your CRM to marketing versus to sales? Because there's a component that obviously is marketing. There's campaigns. You're doing HTML landing pages. You're doing a variety of things that are all part of that. Part of that gets charged to marketing. AI automation, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Is that marketing? Is that sales? I don't know. It depends on what you look at in your business and how you're utilizing it. You really have to think about, like, how are all these things intertwined in regards to public consumption of your brand? And Canva, HubSpot, all of these things have a monthly subscription. All of this gets lumped in here, guys. And from you as a perspective of the owner, the VP, executive in charge looking at this, those percentages, because marketing gets caught of, and I said this in the last video, the National Puppy Day, salary guides, all this kind of stuff. It's all this other stuff too, guys. Like you're not realizing that all of this is lumped into what that 5% should be. And maybe you're spending more. Maybe it's the other perspective. You're spending so much on this, all these tools and everything else, that you're overspending and not being wise with your dollars.
Right. And I think that if you have a CMO, that person should be able to help you look at the tools that your company is already using and say, okay, you're using Monday.com for your sales team, and as your project management team, we can also use that. Let us use that for automation of this. We can build your referral campaigns through Monday.com. But again, if you don't have that person who is checking that these tools are working, you can set it all up, and then all of a sudden you've got all these lead generation things that you set up, leads are coming in, and no one's doing anything with them. So you have to have the people who know how to use the tools. So
you can't set it and forget it. I mean,
Right.
I think you just told me a story of somebody set it and forget it and called you up because their website went down and no one paid their fees to the web hosting company for 2 years.
Right. 27 months after we finished their website and walked away, they then contacted us because their marketing company hadn't checked the domain or web hosting for 27 months. Their website went down. So yeah, you can't just trust blindly. You have to have somebody. We talked a little bit about social proof in the last video. You have to have somebody who has experience, who has expertise, and who has social proof. So let's get back to the list. We've got ad costs. I think that pretty much goes without saying. You've got events and networking costs, and also awards will go in there too, public relations costs.
Great point.
That comes under events, networking, and you want those awards. Those are going to help you a lot because not only do they make you look good and give you that social proof, they also give you backlinks into your website, which are so important to Google.
Agreed.
And then lowest on the list, I think, is print costs. There's very little printing that you should be doing these days. I work with companies that are here in the States and also in Europe. Europe doesn't do any printing anymore. If you hand out flyers in Europe, then you're kind of blacklisted. They don't like that.
Yeah.
There's very, very little printing going on. But here in the US, there's still some. So, I mean, case by case basis on that one. I don't think you should be spending.
Yeah. And these are kind of unique perspective. Every company's going to have a different line item in their P&L, right, guys? So you think about, your tchotchkes that you're buying, your Yetis you're giving away, you're buying, a new booth for a networking event, you're, sponsoring, some sort of event. How you're allocating those costs on your P&L, I think the rule of thumb that I've always lived by is if it is putting our brand out in public consumption, it should have some component of marketing, like job postings. That can be argued because that's recruiting costs, right? So you got a job posting versus resume search. Some companies take half of this cost and put it into marketing because marketing writes the content or makes sure that it's SEO optimized or, has a component of what that formatting looks like. Other companies don't. So however you're utilizing that, guys, from your P&L, but the basics that Rebecca just outlined absolutely need to be put in your bucket for marketing costs.
So when we talk about manpower, let's talk about what exactly that means, because if it's the biggest line item in your budget, obviously we need to break that down, right? So when we're talking about small agencies, which is, as you said, the majority of staffing agencies, what do they need versus what do they just want and maybe could use part-time? So in our experience, what we found that they absolutely need is that CMO. You need that strategist. Some people get scared that they're calling it a CMO because that sounds expensive. It doesn't matter what you call it. You're looking for a strategist. This is the person who has the experience and the expertise to lay out your pathway.
And most likely that's not a full-time person, right, Rebecca, at this stage?
Well, if you're outsourcing to an agency, then you're not paying full-time wages or overhead, yes, but you do have the line to that person, direct line to that person. This is the person that's reporting back to you. This is the person that is your go-between. And this is the person that when you get to the level that you're an established organization, you're going to be handed to a project manager at the marketing agency. That would be this person. So they have
Understood.
the strategy experience. They know how to lay out the path for you. They know how long you should be on that path. They know that the goal at the end of the path is A, and the metrics along the way are B, C, D, E. So they are going to set it all up for you, and then they will report to you.
I think this is a good point of reference that I think we need to dive into, because when you look at this in that growth firm, you know, you're not $100 million mature firm. You're somewhere growing in that capacity. These for folks out there, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have to kind of digest this from a different branch of the tree, which is these are functions, not necessarily full-time people. Right. And I think that is something that I think most people can't conceptualize when you talk about what is a marketing department or how does it look. There are so many different things that are ebb and flowing based on what you're trying to accomplish. And when we say manpower, I mean, you're pulling resources really off branches of a tree or the bookshelf and then putting back up there. So if you've got books back there, okay, put this person back up here. I need this person now. And
that's exactly right.
So, I mean, I think that, you know, for those folks understanding this cost of manpower and all these different titles you have here, you know, these are functions that ebb and flow based on need.
That is exactly right. So, yeah, when you are in the small agency and partway through the growth firm, that is not the area where we anticipate you are hiring a department. We expect that you are hiring a marketing department when you are pushing towards that established organization, when Robert Half is seriously becoming a competitor of yours. Because you need most of these people full time when you're in that role, when you're at that stage rather. And before that, like you said, you want to take a person and then put them back. And you don't want to have to hire and fire. That's crazy and expensive and terrible for morale. So you can't be doing that. So then what do we recommend? We recommend that you outsource. And these are the people that you should expect to be working with on this scale. So your CMO, your strategist, that is your main line person. That is the person that you will be talking to. Your marketing associates, these guys are so important. You'll probably never get to know them. They are entry level. They are, I hate to use the term ants because it makes them sound like they're small. They're not. They're so flipping busy. They are doing everything. They're laying down the bricks that creates your path to greatness. So they are the ones that are updating your website. They are communicating with people on social media every single day. They are tracking your competitors. They are doing the stuff that happens in the background that you don't even think about. They are vital. So the majority of our team is made up of marketing associates. We have more marketing associates than any other role on here.
Got it.
Then your web team and your copywriters. These guys are equally important. So web team, you need your website is vital. You can have no office. You can be 100% remote and be so successful, but you cannot do it without a website. You have to have, that is your digital storefront. That is your office. That should be updated frequently because Google and all the other search engines are checking and they're not ranking you if you're not updating it. And also your visitors, the people who are interested in you, they want to come back to your website. You want them to come back to your website. If you have nothing new on there, what are they coming back for? So your web team is constantly updating your website. We're going to talk about campaigns and everything that goes into a campaign in a future video, but your web team is going to be a big part of what goes into a campaign. Your copywriters. This is the part that all marketing teams are like, what? ChatGPT does what? So copywriters are the people, and yes, you can use ChatGPT, but I guarantee you cannot use ChatGPT as well as a copywriter can, because they will edit the crap out of ChatGPT, take out all the little M dashes that ChatGPT loves to use, and all those stupid emojis that don't fit your tone and your context, they write your voice. They are speaking for you. So they will use ChatGPT to speed up the process, but they are not reliant on ChatGPT. These guys are copywriters, have basically gone to being copy editors now. They are amazing.
You can sell tea to a Brit. No.
There you go. Thank you. So, your SEO team. So you can see we're starting to get to the growth firms stage here. So you may not need a full-time SEO team. Trust me, they'll definitely benefit you, but they're not cheap. It's expensive to have an SEO team. And your marketing associates or your web team can carry you for a while. But once you do start to need to compete with people who are spending a lot of money on SEO, you're going to have to get into that. Do you want the team the whole time? That really depends on your budget. The next level is the one that you really have to take off, your graphic designers. So there are some great graphic design tools out there. We have a graphic designer on our staff full-time, and he is a genius. He's amazing. I don't know how he does it. He just comes up with these concepts. He can come up with logos. We once worked with a firm in India who wanted a logo, and they changed their mind. There were 6 people on this board, and they changed their mind so much that we created, I want to say, around 30 logos eventually for them. And our logo guy was just original idea after original idea. And I was like, I don't know how he isn't just banging his head against a wall by now. So
that's a really good point, because, you know, I hear this all the time from, you know, like, oh, I can go online. There's places that'll give me 30 logos for $30 or, you know, whatever it is. Right. I think that the point that, you know, this really echoes is, sure, there's tools out there, but the expertise to, you know, put the message that matches the logo, the message that matches the content, the feel of the company, all of this together, when you orchestrate in a department that understands that, that's what ChatGPT or these AI tools or, you know, spitting out logos, they don't have that. They're going to give you, you know, something that's probably looks like everybody else's.
Exactly. And that's what, going back to the copywriters, that's what ChatGPT does. I mean, Meta just came out with their own version, and they literally read everybody else's work, proprietary work, by the way, read all of that to get their knowledge. So they're writing exactly what was already written for you, for the next guy, for the next guy, for the next guy. Like, everybody sounds the same. And you know who's reading it? No one. No one's reading that. They want emotion. We all want emotion. We want connection. We want to feel like we get each other. And that's why we, as a marketing team, that's why we work so hard to understand our target audience. So your graphic designers, our graphic designer will come with us, meet our client, set up their logo, set up their brand manual, set up all of the standards, the templates, and then he kind of hands it over. And if they need things created, like sales materials, now people are going to more networking event, and you want to stand out. You don't want this stuff to end up in the trash can. So he will come in and do things like that. But he is that guy. You take him off the shelf and then you put him back for all of our clients. And that's the great thing about outsourcing. We have access to him, and you don't have to worry about bringing him on and taking him out.
And here's a great point to this. And I think that, you know, for all of you guys watching this and that are, you know, staffing owners, executives, I've heard this commentary. I'm just going to hire one person to do marketing. I'm bringing it over here, right? That one person isn't capable of doing all of these tasks.
Right.
They're just not. They're a quarterback shuffling the play, you know, and that might work for you, but you still need a strategy. You still are going to need an SEO person from time to time. You have to have somebody managing your website. I mean, Rebecca pointed out, there's probably a checklist 100 long that you need to do with your website consistently for security purposes and variety of other things. But the ebb and flow of marketing, I think, is very fluid, and it's based on what's happening within your organization. And whether you have somebody you want to put in this function of shuffling plays as a quarterback, you're still going to need freelancers or an outsourcing team or something to fill in the gaps that you don't have in-house. And that's where that manpower cost really consumes the dollars, is because you don't have everything you need in one person. It's not feasible for the size of the company you're in, nor is it, from a task related process, feasible for someone to do all of these tasks and do them well.
And the other issue that you come up with is, okay, the expense. So we have a set budget. We cannot afford candidate A as our CMO because he's too expensive, but he has the expertise, he has the experience, he has the references, he has everything. He looks perfect, but we can't afford him. So we'll go with candidate B. He's good, but he doesn't have the experience. So we're going to bring him in, and then we're going to ask him to put our entire plan together and manage it. And he has to manage all of these freelancers who are sometimes available and sometimes they're not available. Sure. And you're not paying the freelancers full time. So why would they always be available to you? Okay, well, let's go even cheaper. We'll go to the Philippines. Oh, okay, now we've got a big time difference and a language and culture difference.
Yeah,
so,
Upwork, something, right? I mean, there's so many different varieties in that. Yeah.
It becomes incredibly complex. So yeah, when you bring in people that don't know all of the elements, you're spending a ton of money and not getting anywhere. You're just spinning your wheels. So that's why you start with the strategist. And if you can't afford to hire that person full time, then outsource, because an agency comes with all of these people and you use them at will.
Yeah. So everybody listen to this, because this is such a huge takeaway. Outsourcing is not a dirty word. It's an aspect of you saying, let the surgeons do the surgery, because I'm in growth mode and I need to focus on getting more clients, building my team, and filling jobs. I don't want to worry about accounting. I don't want to worry about marketing. I don't want to worry about technology. Put these things into the hands of experts and focus on the critical few things that are going to drive your business to succeed. Bottom line.
Right.
You're going to cost yourself way more headache and money by trying to do it all at once. And
I feel like what we see a lot is we will have a client come to us and they'll say, well, we have, my cousin's brother is doing our marketing. They're running our social media. I'm not really sure if we're getting anything out of it. And I think, why are you paying them then? Like, if you don't know what you're supposed to be looking for, then maybe you should outsource to somebody who does and can show you what you need to know, the goals that you should be reaching, and how you're going to get there. Because if your cousin's brother is not showing you metrics at the end of the day, you're just paying somebody to look good on social media. And are you even looking good?
I love that, Rebecca. That's such a good point, because you spend so much time as a staffing owner executive on how many outbound calls, how many meetings did you have, how many submits, how many job fills, how many client visits, and you're watching these metrics right and left, right and right. And then marketing, you're like, I don't know what I'm getting out of this. So what's the value? If you don't understand that you're not tracking metrics, or your firm or whoever you're working with isn't giving you metrics and saying these are important and these are why, you're missing something. The pull through, the value, no wonder you're having problems, because you don't know the value of what this is doing for your business. You're not accepting it.
And I think this brings us to a great place to close, because one of the things that I think
I softballed that up for you. Did you like that?
a lot of staffing companies struggle to know what metrics they should be looking at. Like, what should I be getting? What should the value of marketing be? And I think that is a great question. It's a question you should definitely ask people you're working with if you do decide to look at outsourcing or hiring for marketing. And that is what we're going to talk about on our next video. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, stay tuned. Hit the like button. The next one coming out really is exactly that. What value are you getting from marketing, and what does it mean to your business? I'm the bull. She's the Brit. We'll see you next time.
Bye for now.